are following breaking news here into our Live Now from Fox Studios. We begin this morning with breaking news. Iran fired air defenses at a major air base and a nuclear site near the central city of Isfahan after spotting drones early Friday morning, raising fears of a possible Israeli strike in retaliation for Tehran's unprecedented drone and missile assault on the country. Now, it was unclear if the country came under attack, as no Iranian official directly acknowledged the possibility, and Israel's military did not respond to a request for comment. However, tensions have been high since the Saturday assault on Israel amid its war on Hamas in the Gaza Strip and its own strikes targeting Iran in Syria. U.S. officials declining to comment as of early this morning, but American broadcast networks quoting unnamed U.S. officials who are confirming Israel carried out the attack. Joining us live this morning on this breaking news story is senior lecturer in criminal justice and homeland security, Mr. Ken Gray. Thank you so much for waking up with us here with this breaking news alert, Mr. Ken.
Good morning, Janae. Glad to be with you again.
So this coming in as early as this morning, U.S. officials saying that Israel did launch that retaliatory strike on Iran. Catch us up.
So last night, Israel allegedly conducted retaliatory strikes against Iran. There were explosions heard near Isfahan, but also at a number of other sites within Iran. Iran seems to be brushing this off as an attack, but that they are not intending to take retaliation for these latest rounds of attacks. However, that is yet to be seen. But nonetheless, there may have been strikes. Isfahan is a military facility south of Tehran. That is the location where Iranian officials and military officials moved to prior to their airstrike against Israel. So this is an important military facility, and it's also the location of Natanz, which is the place where nuclear weapon development is being conducted by the Iranians. In addition to Isfahan, Tehran, Fordo, Iraq, Natanz, Karg Island, Bushehr, and Badr Abbas may have all also come under attack. So this is a robust attack, but at the same time limited in that some targets were hit, but it does not appear that there was major damage done at any of these locations. It's more symbolic, showing that the Israelis could do this, as opposed to trying to bring a lot of pain to Iran.
And Mr. Ken, this breaking news coming into our Live Now from Fox Studios from an unnamed U.S. official. We are still awaiting to see if Israel does take ownership of their alleged retaliatory strike on Iran. I want to ask you the implications if they did in fact do this, because we know that several of their allies, including the U.S., have encouraged them not to retaliate on Iran for fears of a regional conflict.
Absolutely. So I think the fact that this is a somewhat limited retaliation is directly because of that fear of turning this into a regional conflict. That is, this is a measured response, more showing Israel's capability of brushing off Iranian air defense and being able to get inside Iran, as opposed to having all of their resources knocked down in the process of carrying out an attack. In addition to the attack on Iran, there were also reports of explosions in both Syria and in Iraq. So there may have been more than the attack on Iran. It may have also been against proxies in Iraq and Syria.
And that's the concern, Mr. Ken. You know, there are so many conflicts going on in this region that it's been hard for different governments to pinpoint where each strike is coming from. And with that being said, I feel like it further alludes to this regional conflict maybe already underway. As you mentioned, you have Syria, Damascus, you have the Israel-Hamas war, you have the conflict with Iran, you also have the conflict with the Houthis in the Red Sea. So many different conflicts and so many terroristic organizations wanting to be in the spotlight for these horrific events.
So I point out that World War I started with the assassination of Archduke Ferdinand, and that small events like that can lead to much greater world wide events. And so these small exchanges between Israel and Iran could lead to a much greater regional conflict as we sleepwalk towards World War III. There's a real possibility of this, and every day these exchanges continue is another step towards that regional conflict.
Mr. Ken, I know when we were last speaking, we were talking about how some of these conflicts can intertwine when you think about the backstory and the history that leads up to these conflicts still ongoing today. But you can see how they've kind of engulfed themselves at this point. I want to ask you, we are looking ahead to Passover, which is coming up. And I know there were several Israelis hoping there would be a ceasefire or something by Monday for Passover. With all of this happening, it's kind of taking away the attention from the hostage situation and the humanitarian crisis and all of these things going on with the Israel-Hamas war, with a lot of attention being on this. It makes it seem like that ceasefire conversation is kind of in a deadlock and still at this point.
Absolutely. So the hostages have all but been forgotten about. The negotiations that were going on in Cairo have hit a stalemate, and that Qatar was re-examining their role as moderator. And so I think that there's not going to be much movement as far as hostage negotiation. In addition to that, Israel is readying their entrance into Rafah. It's supposed to be a two-phase type of military action. They are going to try to set up a camp to move the refugees to after sorting them to make sure that Hamas members do not get into this new location. And so Israel is posed on the brink of conducting those operations in the southern part of the Gaza Strip. And so the war in Gaza continues despite this bigger picture of a potential beginning of a regional conflict. We've got to keep that in mind, that the conflict in Gaza continues, the humanitarian crises in Gaza continues. Additionally, I'd like to point out that exchange with Hezbollah has been intensifying, and so I would not be surprised to see another front started by Israel with Hezbollah to rid the threat of Hezbollah from the area too. So a lot of moving pieces here.
Absolutely. And great point you're making there, Mr. Kim, because as we've seen, some of these terroristic organizations have been taking ownership of some of these tragic events when they had nothing to do with it, just to be relevant in the conversation. So absolutely, we'll be keeping a close eye on that. Mr. Kim, you know, we appreciate your expertise and dialogue with this breaking news alert here into our Live Now from Fox Studios this morning. Is there anything else you'd like to add before I let you go?
So we are all waiting to see whether or not Iran actually responds to this. They claim that they are not going to do so, but that does not mean they're not going to do so. So people should stay tuned and be aware of the fact that that might be coming.
Absolutely. Mr. Ken, thank you again for joining us this morning on Live Now from Fox. You enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.